Well, hi everybody, and welcome to our podcast, Let's Linguist, where we give you the news, questions, and insights in the world of linguistics and language. We are your hosts, Kisha and Amisha.
So, Amisha, what we'll be talking about today in our podcast?
Well, I think maybe we could give a little insight about the English language policy, specifically in education in Malaysia.
I think our audience will definitely love that. Did you know that Malaysia has a complicated language policy as compared to the other Asian countries?
How so, Kisha?
Well, English is a compulsory subject to learn in school that we know lah, and the only language other than that is Bahasa Malaysia. Other than
Mhm.
that, science and math subjects in school is used to be taught in BM before this, but now most of the schools incorporated the DLP program, so it's in full English. But still, some schools prefer for either language lah.
Yeah, I think it used to be full English, but now it's more like you can choose either one. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. So that's why today we will dive in a little deeper in the way students, which are the people who are most affected by this language education policy, how they perceive this policy as well as their attitudes towards it. So we were able to understand the attitude of these students by getting our reading glasses on and finding some helpful articles to better explain to all of you, our audience.
Oh, yes. So the article that I read was about the perception and attitude of the underprivileged students in
Mhm.
Malaysia toward learning the English language. Okay, so basically the article was written by Zulaika and Abu Yazis. And then this case study was motivated by the need to address the achievement gaps outlined in the National Education Blueprint from 2013 to 2025 and
Mhm.
improve the teaching strategies for students from low economic backgrounds. So they basically pointed out the underprivileged students in that particular area in Selangor lah. This study
Mhm.
was conducted because students' attitude are a vital component of learning. Thus, they should be incorporated into second language learning pedagogy. It is essential to gather more information about students' attitude in order to comprehend their thoughts
Mhm.
and also feelings about learning English in the classroom. It is also important to create and raise students' awareness of practices and language use in their daily life lah. Okay,
Mhm.
this study is mainly focused on underprivileged students because in a civilized society, underprivileged students are those who live in deprived social or economic conditions. Like we all know, people from low income families face numerous challenges,
Mhm.
particularly in education. A person from a low income family may not even be able to attend the school, but
Mhm.
grace God in Malaysia, the education is kind of free, so all of them are able to go to school lah. Okay. This person will be unable to access public services and opportunities too. So the underprivileged students' perception and attitudes can have a significant impact on their learning in the formal learning processes. Moreover, there are very limited studies on underprivileged students' perception and attitude towards English learning. Not saying there isn't any studies. Many studies have been conducted on students' perception and attitudes, but most scholars only focuses on secondary students with lower grades or also the university students. They like they don't consider the underprivileged students lah.
Mhm.
So this study serves as a preliminary case study to comprehend the students' perspective in order to make the process of learning English more efficient despite their challenging circumstances. Okay, the study's main goal is to discover local underprivileged students' perception and of English, which affect their attitude towards learning the language. In other
Mhm.
words, like the researchers are interested in learning about the students' difficulties, interests,
Ah.
and also the intentions in learning English as a second language lah. So basically, what the findings was like, it indicate that disadvantaged students, those from
Mhm.
the underprivileged family lah, typically
Mhm.
exhibit a positive attitude towards
Oh.
English, learning the English as a second language. Maybe because acknowledging its significance for their future prospects and also the
Mhm.
professional advancement lah.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, the ability of individuals to effectively learn the language is hindered by obstacles such as limited resources. The
Mhm.
discussion analyzes the findings, highlighting the importance of innovative teaching approaches and also the creation of English speaking environments to improve the language proficiency.
Mhm.
Well, now you know that what the article is about, Amisha.
Mhm.
So, what's your point of view of that thing?
Well, first, I find this article quite interesting, and I also agree with the perspective of the majority of the underprivileged high school students, which is that they have the positive attitude towards English as it's important for their future. Well, in my opinion, myself, English is essential in the future because it will give individuals more opportunities in many fields. For example, as
Yeah.
stated in the article as well, English is also a necessity for furthering their studies, whether in Malaysia or internationally, as well as because in Malaysia nowadays, the courses actually use English as a medium of teaching, no matter what type of program you are majoring in. So this is especially prominent in fields such as science and IT, as you will be receiving most of the knowledge and terms from other countries, which mainly consists of the English-speaking countries, as their advancements in this field are much more prominent. So other than
Mhm.
this, since these underprivileged students are also orphans, as I saw from the article, English is important for them, so they can actually receive scholarships so that when they further their studies, this will help financial aid to be given to them. Because I've heard that most scholarships actually in Malaysia will test an individual's English skills because this is how they decide if they will send the student to study out of this country or not.
Yeah, that's quite right. I also
Mm-hmm.
strongly agree with the underprivileged students' positive attitude toward the learning the English language lah. I believe
Mm-hmm.
that those with a good socio-economic background will always have a positive attitude toward English language learning, as they can
Mm-hmm.
easily access the language compared to the underprivileged students, right? So
Yeah.
the English language also holds significant importance among students. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
English is mainly the medium of instruction
Yeah.
in the tertiary education institution. Thus, having a good proficiency in English enables the students, because they are now currently in secondary, then the next part is the
Mm-hmm.
tertiary education, right? So it
Yeah.
enables ones to access a wide range of education opportunities and also scholarship, as you mentioned just now.
Yeah.
And from the study, right, almost 86 of students agree that English language is essential
Mm-hmm.
for them to continue their studies and also to
Mm-hmm.
find a better job opportunities. Plus, all of the respondents agree that English is very crucial for them in order to travel abroad. These
Mm-hmm.
statistics clearly shows that the respondents are aware of that English language learning is a key aspect for employability and also the global communication. They know that
Yeah.
having a good proficiency in English can be a turning point of their not to say the misfortune but less fortune life lah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True.
Since now many employers request employees to have a good command of English, learning English enhances the underprivileged students'
Mm-hmm.
chance of securing a better job opportunities, which can contribute to break the cycle of poverty they are facing
Yeah.
since child.
That's
And
right.
then all of the respondents stated that they consider speaking to be the most difficult skill in English, and also writing is the second most difficult skill.
Yes, well, definitely true because I guess speaking in English, you have to have more of like a knowledge of the background and language and
Yeah.
know what words to use. Yeah, well, I definitely agree with these points of views, but other than this, I do disagree with some of the attitudes of the students regarding the way they want to improve their English skills because although they know that they need to learn English whether they want to or because it's compulsory due to Malaysia's language policy, these students I think they don't put enough effort in trying to learn English as we found from
Yes.
this article. For instance, none of the students actually write down new vocabulary that they have learned in order to practice them in sentences. Because of this, in
Yep.
my opinion, writing down new things actually is a very helpful way for us to better understand and remember new knowledge, especially in terms of the language, new language knowledge that we gain, because we can refer to these notes from time to time.
Yeah, I
However, I
see.
do understand that some of the ways learning English is unfeasible for these unprivileged students because of their limited resources. Like, for example, they can't improve their skills by watching English shows or reading articles online or by taking extra courses such as tuition, because it may be difficult for these orphan students due to the inability to have stable internet connection or even the financial needs to be able to join tuition programs. So because of this, I think if the government wants to continue to apply this English language education policy due to, I guess, its benefits for their future, then the government must also treat all the students fairly by giving everyone the same privileges and resources to learn English. I guess it's unfair. It's unfair for the students who come from financially stable families to have a better chance of learning English than the other underprivileged students just because of their living situation, because actually both groups of students deserve the same opportunities to have a better future.
Yeah, I truly agree with you. Like they mentioned in the article, right? Despite the
Hmm.
fact that they knew the importance of the English language in changing their lifestyle,
Hmm.
almost 43.33% of the respondents
That's a lot,
stated
yeah.
that, yeah, they did not know whether they could improve their English, or while two respondents disagreed with the statement, which is surprisingly like, why? So one half of the respondents stated that they think they could improve their English. Just 15 students out of the 13. However, only one third of the respondents agreed that they have time to improve their English, while the rest
Oh.
disagreed, were not sure. Moreover, most of them chose none, like 66.66%, when the respondents were asked to state their own strategies to improve their English proficiency. This was not expected, as most of them claim like they like English. And then furthermore, it appears that students hold different points of view despite sharing similar circumstances. However, the positive attitudes observed among the students despite their challenges underscore the resilience and potential within this demographic, calling for continued attention and support to facilitate effective English learning
Yes.
as
Well,
their second
yes.
language.
Definitely. I totally
Yeah,
agree. And I like the article that you chose today, Kisha. It definitely gave us more to think about.
yeah.
Interestingly, I found another article which is actually related to something a bit different, which is tertiary education students' attitude towards the English language policy. This article
Oh,
was written
wow.
by Jane, Sidhu, and Lim, which explained the attitude of the undergraduate students concerning learning English as their second language. This article actually stressed the attitude towards the English among these students throughout all the education stages, not only in tertiary but also as English is actually a compulsory second language to be learned since primary school
Yeah.
due to Malaysia's education policies. So
Oh,
these are some of the interesting results I found from the research was that majority of the undergraduate students did have a positive attitude towards learning English as they feel that it's an important subject to learn and they had to learn English and so they do put a lot of effort into learning the language. But however, students didn't use reading materials such as newspapers to learn English as they find it quite boring. But they did state that they are interested that interesting as well as interactive classroom materials do help them improve their English as well as increase efforts in learning the language. So following this, although a small number of students said they disliked the English language, the reason behind it was interesting. Some students included having difficulty in learning languages in general, and also having anxiety when they try to speak English because they are scared that other people who may be more proficient in the language will make fun of them if
yeah.
they make a mistake. And another one is that they actually label English as a colonizer's language, which I guess to some extent is quite true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But interestingly, it was found that females had a more positive attitudes than males towards the English language policy, which may be due to males are often, they feel that they might be judged by others if they can't find the right words, especially during presentations in front of classes. However, females actually feel less anxious because they feel and they have the mindset that English is a learning process and making mistakes is inevitable. Well, other than that, non-science students also have a more positive attitude towards learning English as compared to science students because science majors often only use English when they are forced to, which is they have to learn the new terms in the language. So non-science students actually hold English at a higher importance because they perceive that if you are able to speak English, you would actually be respected more. However, a finding that I was the most shocked about was that students with low language proficiency actually have a more positive attitude towards English education policy as compared to people with high or average language proficiency. This is because low proficiency students actually have the effort and want to learn English and practice it way more often. However, in conclusion, most tertiary students stress the importance of English, but they not make an effort to improve their English skills. Well, Kisha, what do you think about this article?
Well, this study also found that students have a moderately positive attitude toward learning English, right? However, there
Mm-hmm.
are some differences in attitude based on the gender
Yeah.
and the major that they are undertaking, and also the
Mm-hmm.
language proficiency. I
Mm-hmm.
can, I strongly agree lah with the overall
Mm-hmm.
result of this study, where female and non-science major students are showing the highest ranking in having positive attitudes toward learning English.
Mm-hmm.
This is due to the real life examples that I have faced.
Mm-hmm.
Like I myself is a tertiary student who is majoring in English. In my class, most of the students are female. Like we
Mm-hmm.
literally only
Yes.
have six males in our class.
True.
Okay. Even not only in my class, but even in the whole faculty of languages and linguistics, most of the
Mm-hmm.
students are females. We can see that
Yeah.
clearly. And then
Mm-hmm.
this shows that females like to learn language more compared to the males.
Yes, I agree with that. And because
Yeah.
I'm also a tertiary student and a major in English myself as well, I also agree and maybe also disagree with some of the perspective of the other tertiary students towards the English language policy. So specifically learning English as a second language. Firstly, I do
Okay.
agree that English is important to learn, even though it's not our mother tongue. Nowadays, it's undeniable that English is used everywhere in all countries due to the language being a lingua franca, meaning the common language for people communicating in all the countries. So other than this, English is also a language that employees actually seek due to most companies having international trades and deals with other countries other than just Malaysia itself. So this actually increases the chances of someone with high proficiency of English to get hired by these companies as compared to somebody
Yeah.
with low English skills. However,
Yeah.
sometimes I do feel that certain people actually put English language on a pedestal so highly that we actually maybe forget our own roots as someone from Malaysia, as someone whose first language isn't English. So yes,
Yeah.
English is important, but learning our mother tongue and using it should always come first as a part of our own cultural identity.
Yeah, I get what you mean, lah.
Mm-hmm.
The article also found that a significant majority of the respondents expressed strong agreement regarding
Mm-hmm.
the importance of English in the university program. Like
Mm-hmm.
a large percentage of respondents, right? They expressed their intention to acquire a comprehensive understanding
Yeah.
of the English language, aiming to attain proficiency and also considering the process of learning English
Mm-hmm.
highly advantageous. Additionally, they acknowledge that there are that they have made a lot of effort lah to acquire
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
proficiency in English. However,
Mm-hmm.
only a minority of them showed a strong inclination to read English newspapers and magazines regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's boring, right?
Yeah.
Even we are not reading now. We are
Yeah.
always depend on the
Mm-hmm.
digital media, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
like most individuals express satisfaction in learning the English language and
Mm-hmm.
attending the English classes, although only a minority express punctuality in completing their English assignments. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like they want to learn the language to
Mm-hmm.
speak and acquire all this things, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do any assignments in English.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I guess you can relate to that as well.
yeah. And then this could be because more tertiary students, including
Mm-hmm.
myself, believe we need
Mm-hmm.
English is the language of many academic resources, research
Yeah.
papers, and also other scholarly works lah. Like
Mm-hmm.
for the three students to succeed excellently in college, they need to use
Mm-hmm.
and understand these resources, and
Yeah.
also the most of the academic journals, textbooks, and also the
Mm-hmm.
educational materials are
Mm-hmm.
predominantly in English, making
Yeah.
proficiency in the language crucial for the academic success.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, students are well aware that English is the main lingua franca, as you mentioned, of the global
Yeah.
communications lab.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, the third three students, whose next
Mm-hmm.
aim is mostly to enter the working world, understand how important it is to proficient in English in order to get
Mm-hmm.
a better and also more secure job opportunities lah.
Yeah. Yeah.
English is the primary language of communication for many multinational corporation and organization. Not
Mm-hmm.
only multinational, even in Malaysia, the local companies
Yeah.
also using English as their main language. Job
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, particularly in business, technology, and also education, frequently
Mm-hmm.
necessitate a high level of English proficiency.
Mm-hmm.
English proficiency gives the theory students an advantage in the job market. Like who
Mm-hmm.
is in highly proficient in English, they can secure
Yeah.
more high standard of jobs lah.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the findings indicate that students with low proficiency show more positive attitudes towards learning
Mm-hmm.
English. This is because they recognize the importance of sharpening their skills like communication, speaking, reading, before entering the job market, as there will be no numerous wide range of communication tasks they have to do later on.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think if
Yeah.
you're not very sure about a subject, you will always try to be better. Other than somebody who thinks they're already good enough, they will feel comfortable and maintain the same way they're living.
Yeah.
Well, following this, an answer from an interview student that actually I found the most entertaining was the dislike of English language until the point of not wanting to learn it because of English being a colonizer's language. Well, it is quite a brave statement. And in
Yeah.
fact, I do agree to some degree because English is, well, technically a colonizer's language, as it does originate from Britain and only became a
Yeah.
language of importance to Malaysia when British took over our land many years ago. It is
Yeah.
fair if someone does feel uncomfortable learning the language of the people who, I guess, terrorized our country and changed the
Yeah.
ways our ancestors once lived, as they make English, they actually perceive English in a negative connotation. So,
Yeah.
however, as a person, who wants to seek knowledge and a person who wants to make ends meet, we need to put some of these feelings aside because nowadays it's undeniable that learning English is compulsory, not just because of the education policy itself, but because the language is important to success in life. For
Yeah.
example, networking and building relationships with those outside of our own country is important to establish ourselves and to get better opportunities, which can only be done if we can communicate with each other using a common language, which nowadays is English. However, I do disagree with the opinion of one student who said that people who speak English are respected and much more respected than others who don't. I think it's unfair to judge someone based on their language proficiency, as not
Yeah.
everybody has the same privilege of learning a foreign language, as explained from the article beforehand. So, for example, with the implementation of English language education policy in Malaysia, there is still unfair treatment of how students receive this education. And often, students from rural areas don't receive the same treatment and opportunities as students that come from urban areas. This is because urban area students always have more access in interactive learning materials, as well as they get to receive extra English classes as compared to those students living in rural areas.
Yeah.
Well,
True.
all in all, yeah, all in all, I do think this article is helpful in understanding the tertiary students' attitude towards the English language education policy in Malaysia, as it shows that majority of the students actually do have a positive attitude when learning English, especially if they're given fun and interactive materials to learn with. So with this, I agree that teachers and lecturers do need to make an effort themselves to make English enjoyable and while stressing on its importance as well.
Yeah, actually, it shows that there are different types of attitudes
Mhm.
of the students toward learning English language education policy in Malaysia.
Yeah, that's right, Ikisha. But I think in general, we can conclude that most students actually do have a positive attitude towards this policy because they actually understand the reason why English language policy was implemented in the
Yeah.
first place. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's all from us today, and we hope you have
Yep.
enjoyed the podcast and also learned something new and insightful things, mainly on the English educational policy in Malaysia, right? So
Mhm.
that's all. I'm
Yes.
Kisha, and she's Amisha, and we are the linguists.